People are vomiting all over themselves. They're losing consciousness sitting in their chairs. The movie theater experience is back, thanks to Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 is the little gore fest that could. It's making people talk everywhere, and I absolutely love it. Of course, starring, I'll just say it, horror's newest icon, Art the Clown. Art the Clown, who we got to know in Terrifier 1 back in 2016, and of course who was introduced to us in the film All Hallows Eve in 2013. Terrifier 2 was written and directed by Damien, who did the 2 movies before it as well, but just as important, Damien is also in charge of the makeup and the practical effects, because at its core, that's what separates this movie. That's what really makes it special. Every tear that's opened and cut that's cut, blood that gushes, it's all in front of your face. It's all happening on a set. Art the Clown is relentless and with absolutely no redeeming qualities whatsoever. It makes him the perfect villain for a horror slasher movie. But these are, and this is, the goriest movie that you're going to see, with the most brutal kills, and I use kills lightly. Because in this movie, you watch the most gruesome stuff happening to some of these characters, only to realize that the characters are still alive. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm talking broken bones. I'm talking salt in the wounds. I'm talking scalpings and flesh removal. Anything that your little, deep, dark, perverted, awful mind can imagine, Art pulls it off in this movie. But I think what makes Terrifier 2 so much better than Terrifier 1 is that you've got a story. We're not following Art the Clown in Terrifier 2. We're following Sienna Shaw. And just as Art the Clown is to me a new horror icon, I'm getting big Laurie Strode vibes from Sienna Shaw. Look, at the end of Terrifier 1, Art shoots himself in the face and somehow survives. We already know this. We already know that we're dealing something that might exist outside the realm of reality as we know it. And that's okay. Much like Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, there is this undefined link that appears to exist between Sienna and Art the Clown. A lot of questions are brought to the table in this movie. A lot is set up, and not all the questions are answered. Frankly, I don't think any of the questions are answered. But that's okay. I felt like in Terrifier 2, a story was being set up. Lore was being set up. And maybe it is just a ploy to get people to kickstart for Terrifier 3. But at the rate that this thing is getting eyeballs on it, I don't think it's going to need a Kickstarter anymore. I love the idea of not every question being answered. I love the idea that you can leave Terrifier 2 and talk to other people that enjoyed the movie about what your theories are. What do you think the connections are? Who are these characters? How did they get here? Why did they get here? There is so much going on in this thing. It's an explosion of creativity and blood. It's like if Willy Wonka, instead of loving chocolate, loved violence. This is the factory that he'd create. People have brought up that this could be it for a new generation. This movie has absolutely nothing in common with the movie It, other than the fact that the villain shows himself to be a clown. Beyond that, this is not it for a new generation. They already made it for a new generation. It's called It. This is another movie with a terrifying clown that murders people. But I'm going to tell you right now, Art is way worse than Pennywise. And Pennywise eats kids. A lot of really great choices are made with Art in terms of being a murdering clown. First of all, Art is not only a murdering clown. Art is a mime, and I think that mimes may be more scary than murderers or clowns. He doesn't say a word the entire movie. He barely makes a sound. Everything is done through his face and those awful teeth. You can watch his mood switch from smiling to frowning in an instant, played to perfection. But what's really done well is the fact that because he's a clown, there are slapstick elements. Art thinks it's funny when he traumatizes people. Art loves brutally mangling loved ones in front of their family. It's a thing that art gets off on. Art has to be able to get the point across that he's having a good time and be silly without losing credibility for the violence. Just as we start to giggle along with art, he does things that are so grotesque that we start throwing up and passing out all over ourselves. I loved this movie. I'm so glad I saw it in a theater. I want to see it again in a theater. And as a horror fan, it makes me happy that people like Damien Leone are out there making sure that the genre is safe. That's the same way I felt about The Black Phone. I feel like with Jason Baker and his crew and Damien Leone and his crew, you've got people out there that are really trying to preserve the art of horror movies with great in-camera effects. Maybe that's why his name's Art. This might not be a date movie. I'm not taking my wife to see Terrifier 2. She's not going to enjoy it. But I did, and I have a feeling that most of you will too. Think about it this way. If there is even a slight chance that you might throw up watching a movie like this, go see it in a theater. Because if you tell someone, oh my God, I went to a movie theater and threw up all over the place because this movie was so intense, that's an amazing story. But if you tell somebody, oh, I was watching this movie at home and had to run to the bathroom to throw up, it's like, who cares? Big deal. What'd you have, a stomach bug? I don't want to say much more about this movie other than the fact that I thought it was great. By far, my favorite horror movie of the season, probably my favorite horror movie of the year, and going to be on my short list of horror movies that I could watch again and again and again. This is the quintessential Art the Clown movie. I really feel like we're starting something very special with this guy. It's very rare that you can go to a film in a theater, watch a clown set a human being on fire, giggle as she runs around flaming herself to death, and think to yourself, man, we are starting something really beautiful here. But we are. Terrifier 2 has only begun to make the impact that it will continue to make. And I can't wait to see where Damien Leone's twisted brain takes us next.